This release did one of the coolest things of all time. Please stick around and I will tell you all about it. Sneak peek, stick around. Alright guys, what's going on? This is your old pal CHH. We get to talk about one of the all-time greatest action movie stars, people of all time. As you guys know, I am a Stallone guy. At the end of the day, I'm also half Italian, so I mean, of course, I'm gonna have some, But my point is, Schwarzenegger is undeniably one of the greatest. And the thing I like about Arnold, and I think most of you guys will agree with this, is Arnold was able to take risks, calculated risks that seemingly worked. Smarter risks, frankly. Stallone made some terrible decisions. I'm not going to say that Schwarzenegger didn't, but even his lows are still funny that people talk about. Movies like Junior, for instance. I mean, I would take Junior and put it above A Stop or My Mom Will Shoot or an Oscar. Those are movies I'd love to talk about more in detail one day, but that's for a different day. But my point is, Arnold did some great different types of films. And, Stallone's done some horror type stuff with the movie I See You. It's got different names. It's a good little film. And I would actually equate this to be what that is for Arnold in a sense. And that movie is End of Days. Now, I did order this with the posters and stuff because I was excited. I mean, I really was excited. I thought I hadn't seen this movie, and I remember seeing little bits and pieces as a kid, because I definitely remember the body hanging up in the hospital room midway through the film, but I'll get there. So I did remember that, but my memory of it was just that. I couldn't tell you that I'd seen the film really top or bottom before, but that's not the point. End of Days came out in 1999 and was playing, of course, on the whole end of the world motif. It was the Y2K. Now, for some of you watching this that may not be old enough to really remember what that was like. I remember it being pretty freaky. I remember at school my teachers would always put a brave face on when it would get discussed. And I also remember my parents stocking up on canned foods. They wouldn't really talk to us about it, but, there was the whole thing about, like, the world would shut down. Not explode or anything, but the world would shut down. All the computers would turn off. The banks would zero out. Everything would just be like, everything would crash. Everything would do like a hard reset. That was what people thought it was going to be, and they thought it would be apocalypse in a sense. So, this is one of those movies that kind of plays on that. You could do a double feature with End of Days in 2012 if you want to. End of Days mix that with obviously a motif of heaven and hell, devil and the god. And let's talk a little bit about the plot of End of Days, whether I like the film, and then of course we'll get into what makes this release so freaking cool, what made me jump for joy, and all that stuff. And it has nothing to do with like the picture quality or anything like that. All hell breaks loose when Arnold Schwarzenegger battles the ultimate evil in the supernatural action thriller End of Days, when burned-out former New York City cop Jericho Kane is assigned to security detail for a mysterious stranger. He thwarts an assassination attempt. During the follow-up investigation, Jericho and his partner save the life of a terrified young woman whose destiny involves death, the fate of mankind, and the devil himself. Now it's up to Jericho to protect not only the woman, but also his very soul as he comes face-to-face with the most powerful enemy imaginable. So the one thing I gotta say about the End of Days, let's talk about all the things I like. Number one, I thought the cast of this was pretty damn good. You've got Udo Kier in here, which was a familiar face, and other people. And one of the things I really liked in the beginning of this film was, you remember like in Halloween 6, you see that ritual with everybody and then they have the baby. This movie does a scene like that, much more freakier and like cultish. There's a scene in the beginning where the baby gets transported to the back of the hospital, where this is the chosen one, if you will. This is kind of like the Omen in a sense. This is the chosen child that's going to eventually help bring to life the seed of the devil, if you will. And what happens is he takes a snake out of a jar, Udo Kier does, cuts the snake, then lets the blood drip on the baby. It freaked me out. And I know that I believe Stan Winston was in charge of all the effects, so they made a snake. I presume they didn't kill a snake like in Friday the 13th. But that scene was freaky. The way he cuts that snake and just lets the blood drip on the baby. It was, oh, God. I wonder where that baby is today and what they think about that when they watch that. But that scene, visually, here's the one thing I say. This film, I feel, definitely has that post-Crow feel, where a lot of those movies wanted that super dark, big building architecture, and that's not a bad thing. I think The Crow is a trailblazer film in more ways than one. I think the look of the film is just as brilliant as everything else about it, and I think End of Days kind of has that look, and this film has the tonality of like a 7 too. The one thing I gotta say is there are no jokes with Arnold, no one-liners. I feel like at this point maybe he wanted to try to really get away from that. There weren't any quirky moments with him. He's dead-ass serious this whole movie, so that kind of took some getting used to. Even in Terminator 2, which is a pretty serious film, he has some funny moments. But in this one, it's straight to the bone, if you will. But then again, we're dealing with elements of the end of the world, heaven and hell. Maybe there's no room for jokes. But I like the cast. There's a really freaky scene where the devil possesses the guy who hires Schwarzenegger to kind of like protect him and send him to his next destination. And the night before, when the devil possesses him, he walks up to this girl in this restaurant, grabs her titty in the middle of the restaurant, pulls it out and starts kissing her. And everybody's like, what the hell? And like, she likes it, but then it's the devil. So like, she's fallen under the spell of the devil. It was like a holy shit scene. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest with you. This film definitely had scenes that I was like, wow. Like, no, this really deserves to be a Scream Factory title, not a Shout Factory title. I mean, this got some freaky moments in this. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, there's a scene in the hospital where you see a gentleman hung on the roof of a medical room, and it's just, he's dead. He's dead, I'll tell you that. This movie has some pretty good visual effects. There is some CGI, but there's also a lot of practical stuff. And the CGI is not bad. I've seen a hell of a lot worse. I think with CGI, it's just one of those things. Sometimes I feel like despite a budget, it can come out good and it can come out bad. One thing I'll say is this looks a hell of a lot. I was looking for my Spawn Arrow release. I was going to hold that up. This Spawn makes this look like the Titanic in terms of effects. So, the effects in this are good. You can tell a little bit that it's 1999, but I mean, like I said, I just think it's one of those things. Sometimes it comes out better than others. And this one, I would say, is a 1 thumb up on the effects, the digital stuff. So not bad at all. Overall, I gotta say, there's a lot going on with this movie. There's a lot of moving pieces in terms of like the way the story flows. But it's not complicated or anything, but I forget this movie was really not trying to be so much an action film. It certainly was much more of the story of heaven, hell, devil, God, the apocalypse over an action film, because I'm used to those Arnold movies that are just straight to the bone. Boom, you get in, bad guy, get to the bad guy, raise hell along the way. This movie, no, there's story above all of it. The last good thing I'll say about this film that I really love was some of the architectural buildings that they use. The church in here is jaw-dropping. It's this huge church. It was gorgeous and haunting to look at. So there's a lot I like about this film. Like I said, Arnold's performance, it's good, but damn it if I don't miss some of those little quips. I'm not saying to turning it into a comedy, but just those, something. I wanted it. I just wanted it a little bit, because you could argue for the people that are, that take the whole religious thing or just the end of the world type stuff, not serious at all. You could say, okay, like, I find this a little over the top, this whole stuff. I would have liked it too. Maybe not, but I just know for me, I'm a believer, but my point is, I just wanted a little bit from Arnold. Just a little bit. He played it straight, and I that's obviously by design. Let's talk about the picture quality on this release. I got the other version that has the different artwork and everything, but honestly, I really like this art, so I'm just gonna stick. I'm gonna stick with this for this one. The picture quality for this I thought looked really good. I have a DVD to compare it to, and I couldn't even find it. It's in boxes somewhere stored. So I wasn't able to pull it out to reference it. I thought the movie looked really good, super crisp, high def, as you would expect by the year 2025 now when it comes to 4K. You'd think they'd have this figured out, and for the most part they do. The one thing I will say is I don't think it's Scream Factory Friday the 13th, this movie. Anybody that knows this movie probably would say, yeah, I know what the movie looks like. I get that. It is a very moody, dark film. The look of the film is low lights, even in the churches. It's not like you can't see anything, but it's all dramatic lighting and stuff like that. And there's dark rooms where they're going into places to, they're looking in these abandoned rooms for clues and all these signs in the wall. So don't watch the film in a super bright room. That's all I'll say. But in terms of the quality of the image, of course, it's been spectacular. With that being said, the picture quality, I would give that a 8.8 out of 10. Really, really good. I wouldn't say 4K of the year, but then again, it's, I don't know that you could make this any better. It just is what it is. It's that look of the movie that I think it's just like, okay, you gotta adjust your room when you watch it. Turn the lights out, experience it the best way you can, like you're at the movie theater, and then you'll probably be like, oh yeah, this is perfect. This is perfect. I got no complaints with that. Audio had a 5.1 to 2.0. I always go with the 2.0s, it seems like, because there's more of an evenness. You could call it compression, probably. But man, it's so annoying when you're watching a movie. Shit happens. The sound of, what's going on around is at this level. And then when the voices come in, they're much lower. I can't stand that. The 2.0 fixes that. I don't feel like it degrades the audio. It just kind of evens it out more. I'm not having to adjust. So sometimes I don't need to do that. I always try to start out with the higher, numbered audio tracks, the 7 points. This one, I just did the 2.0 and I'd have no complaints with that. It still sounded phenomenal. All right, guys, let's look at the release, and then I'll tell you what makes this release so amazing. I'm so glad I got this. So here you go. Let's take a look at this. End of Days. Here it is, the 4K. Like I said, I've got the alternate slip, but I just like this one better, so I'm going to stick with this. Here's the back. You've got your special features and everything on there. Dolby Vision, of course. No reversible artwork. Obviously, it looks identical. And here are your 2 discs. Boom, bada bing, bada boom. Blu-ray looks great too. I did pop that on always just to make sure. It looked pretty much identical. Like, it's not one of those situations where I feel like the look of the film is just somehow drastically different on the Blu-ray. There has been instances where I've had that. Like, if anybody has tics from Vinegar Syndrome, put the Blu-ray on. The Blu-ray just looks like ass. It's one of those things. So why is this release so freaking awesome? If you guys remember, Time Cop came out, and there was no special features. There was a new transfer from the negative, and that's it. That's all there is to this. Well, guess what? Both of these movies are directed by Peter Hyams, okay? Both of them are. And I applaud Scream Factory for this, because honestly, they didn't have to do this. This release, let me read this to you. We'll look at this real quick. New One Hell of a Time, Peter Hyams at Universal, in-depth interview with Peter Hyams. You Will Bear Witness, writing End of Days, interview with screenwriter Andrew M. Marlowe. Hell Followed Him, Inside the Effects, interview with visual effects supervisor John Desjardins. The Eternal Struggle, scoring End of Days, interview with composer John Debney. Then you have audio commentary with Peter, which is old, spotlight on location, vintage featurette, special effects, The Devil's Playground, vintage featurette, and theatrical trailer. This release has a humongously long interview with Peter Hyams, and get this, he talked in its entirety about Time Cop before they got into End of Days. I'm talking from inception of getting the job to the end of making the film. He talked about casting everybody. He talked about not working with Van Damme before. He talked about the production. He talked about needing to do this in a sense because he had done the best Seagal film. He had done the best film for this person, and his kid was like, Dad, Van Damme's the next big thing. You got to do. He talked about the entire making of Time Cop before even getting to End of Days. And I also have to applaud his honesty because he actually said his career was kind of in the toilet around this time, in the late 90s. Obviously, this was 94, and this was a huge hit. But by the late 90s, he felt like his career was dipping down, and he needed something that was going to rock the house, and he was happy with End of Days. Thank you, guys. They make this release more palatable now. Obviously, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, if you want to learn about Time Cop, you got to buy End of Days. But I feel like they tried to right a wrong in a sense. I'm happy about that. Whether some of you say it's not good enough, there's an argument you could say, Christian, get over that. It's really not good enough. Whatever. I just want to learn about my favorite action films. So thank God they talked about this on this release. He talked about all of it. The beginning of the filmmaking to the end of the filmmaking. So awesome. The other features are great, but I'm not going to lie. I can't get over the Peter Hyams interview. Lovely guy, by the way. So, guys, I'm going to say I actually highly recommend this release. If you're not an action fan, I wouldn't even worry about that. This is more of a horror film than anything, and I mean seriously. So the themes are dark in this. So maybe now you'll be like, okay, well, I'll pick up both of these, and I feel like I'll be able to learn about it with the End of Days release. I love these films. These guys are I love Van Damme and Schwarzenegger. So guys, I'm going to give this release, I think I'm going to give this release 2 thumbs up. I'm very happy with it. That Peter Hyams interview just saved everything for me. I'm just so happy. So yeah, I actually made an post on YouTube saying I hope this becomes like a great release for the year. This is the most underrated release so far for me because they saved the Time Cop release now with that interview. So God bless Peter Hyams, man. There you go, guys. I recommend it. I think most of you will be pretty damn happy with this, and you already know if you're going to get it or not if you're a Schwarzenegger fan. So End of Days, man, what can I say? I like the film. I don't love the film, but I like it quite a bit. Nothing against the quality, just a little bit of the style to it. But other than that, guys, that's going to be it. There we go. End of Days coming out soon. If you didn't get it from Scream Factory, you would have got it right about now when I'm uploading this video. But there you have it, guys. Let me know your thoughts on End of Days. This is your old pal CHH. God bless you guys, and I'll see y'all next time. Huge giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind-the-scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.